have lit a candle for good juju. I'm not really sure how much good juju we need. I am just reading, but can't do any harm. And it smells nice. Welcome back, or welcome. Today I'm going to be reading over my 2 personal statements for medical school in the UK that I used for my UCAS applications. Yeah, maybe it'll inspire something in someone, or just give someone a general idea of what kind of things you put in there. Yeah, I used these in 2018 and 2019. This is a little bit cringe for me, PSA, but you know, here I like to be transparent as much as possible to kind of maybe help someone else. So yeah, if you like this video, do let me know because I would appreciate that. And let's get started. So I just want to make a couple of points before I start cringing at the UCAS system that forces us to boast about ourselves for 4,000 characters or whatever it is, and say that I did use a lot of the stuff that was in my first personal statement in my second year because I hadn't actually done a whole lot of work experience in that year. I was finishing off a degree and that takes up quite a lot of energy. So yeah, I'm gonna read them 1 to 2 paragraphs at a time, and I'll have screenshots next to me so that you can kind of refer to the text in case you can't understand my really thick Scottish accent. And I'll be making comments here and there about things that I, in hindsight, would change or improve, or things I would cut out, because it's so easy to fall victim to the character limit when you're writing a personal statement, particularly on UCAS where they count literally everything towards your character limit. Yeah, there are definitely improvements that could have been made. Hindsight's a bitch, what can we do? We move. Timestamps in the description in case you want to skip to my 2019 personal statement. So yeah, let's just jump into it. Oh, one thing before I start. I have not read either of these since I wrote them. So if I cringe a bit, if you see me wincing, that's what's going on. Okay, 2018, here we go. Medicine is a vocation which I believe wholeheartedly suits me. Having enjoyed pursuing an undergraduate degree in neuroscience and spending a significant portion of my spare time caring for individuals in a time of vulnerability, I feel I have all the qualities of empathy, self-determination and life balance which make an excellent doctor. Right, so this first paragraph. This whole which I believe is unnecessary. You don't need to put I believe, because not only does it first of all suggest that there is some doubt, it's just waste of your characters. You don't have a lot of characters to use in a personal statement. That was stupid. So the qualities of empathy, self-determination and life balance. Okay, I get the life balance thing because I guess the work I was doing outside of my education does kind of assume there is some sort of balance, but in saying that, I don't think self-determination needed to be put in there because self-determination isn't really shown. It's not the worst thing in the world, it's just lots of characters in one sentence. And I think the life balance thing could have been shown somewhere else, but I'm not entirely sure what I've written in the rest. So, second paragraph. Having obtained work experience within the NHS, shadowing a paediatric neurology ward, and within the private sector in a psychiatric hospital, I've spoken to medical professionals who have answered my questions on a multidisciplinary environment and understand how my life sciences degree is providing me with a solid foundation for which to pursue medicine. Okay, I was trying to show my work experience, which is good, but I didn't specify what questions I was asking, although I have said multidisciplinary environment, but I think that's just one thing that you need to tick off when you're talking about medicine, is that in every personal statement you will see multidisciplinary team or multidisciplinary environment or multidisciplinary whatever. Understand how my life sciences degree is providing me with a solid foundation for which to pursue medicine. That doesn't relate to the previous, so that doesn't relate to the work experience. I mean, I guess I see where I was coming from. You're seeing the things you learn about, like seeing the theory in practice. That's what I should have written. However, I didn't, did I? No. Okay, the experiences I consider most valuable have been those which directly impacted those surrounding me. As a part-time support worker, my role involves working closely with adults who have severe learning difficulties. This includes a large portion of personal care and carrying out day-to-day tasks which allow the service users to live as fully and as efficiently as possible. In my time with Lifeways, I've learned the importance of maintaining dignity and integrity, which allow a trusting and healthy environment, as well as having experience in staying focused during long and intense work days. I work closely with epilepsy and varying forms of autism, which I've been trained in, as well as first aid and manual handling. Okay, this is quite a chunky paragraph, but I do think it's important because the support work did teach me a lot, and I've written down in detail what it taught me. So there's a lot of reflection in there. However, things like day-to-day task, that's a lot of characters. I don't know, it definitely could have been put more succinctly. Daily tasks, for example, I'd have 4 extra characters and everything counts. In my time with Lifeways, I don't think I needed to name the company there. There was no real need to do that. But I think the rest is good. Actually, I'm quite happy with that because I put about the specific training I'd had, the specific conditions which the service users I was working with had, the different tasks specifically that I had to carry out during that time. But I think on the whole, I'm happy with that paragraph. It's quite substantial. Volunteering weekly with the Royal Voluntary Service, I visit the Aberdeen Royal Infirmary and I'm based on the acute stroke ward, where I see the neurological symptoms explained in my lectures in a clinical setting. I find this insight invaluable and I'm touched by the positive response from patients solely from a chat or a game of dominoes. The challenges in communicating with aphasic patients or those with brain damage in certain areas has given me further insight into problems which medics may encounter and utilising resources to overcome these. So again, I'm quite happy with that paragraph because I've explained why my volunteering was insightful. I've shown that it was a long-term commitment because I've said weekly. I could have said how long I'd been doing it because I did it for like a year and a half. And I think it's also a bit more indicative of my character because I've said solely from a chat or a game of dominoes. And you know, how many people have mentioned dominoes in their personal statement? I think Aberdeen Royal Infirmary is a lot of characters, and I think Royal Voluntary Service is a lot of characters. And knowing what I know now, that the Royal Voluntary Service it's actually a national thing. It's definitely all over Scotland. I'm not sure if it's in England as well. I suspect it might be. I could have just written RVS and they would have known what I was meaning, and that would have been a lot more characters I could have used elsewhere or to add something else. But I quite like that paragraph. I think it does show how the work experience that I've done has given me insight into medicine, and also how my degree plays a part in that as well, because when I was on the stroke ward I was looking at symptoms that I'd learned about in my lectures, and I've given specifics and utilising resources to overcome these, which is something that doctors and all the multidisciplinary team have to do every day when they've got an aphasic patient, to use different things. Yeah, I just think that's a good paragraph. Yeah, happy with that. Okay, my summer as a Saltire scholar interning at Edwards Life Sciences Canada gave me a great insight into the medical technology sector. Having gone through a highly competitive application process over many months, I was able to heighten my confidence through multiple interview rounds and meetings. Now, as lead liaison Saltire ambassador, I'm on the interview panel for future scholars and organise info sessions to recruit applicants. As an intern in medical education, I work to organise events within Canada to train healthcare practitioners on how to use the products that Edwards manufactures, being heart valves and critical care monitoring equipment. I was trained on a number of administrative systems and was involved in cooperation between various departments of the company. Edwards' credo is helping patients is our life's work and life is now. These words are some which I feel well fitting, as I've devoted a lot of time to helping patients and I'm committed to continuing to do so. That is a really long paragraph, and I think there's a lot of stuff that I would easily take out of this. Edwards Life Sciences Canada, not sure if I needed to name drop. Highly competitive application process over many months, probably not necessary. I probably could have shortened that by a fair bit and said just a highly competitive application process. This is one thing that I could never really get over, was where's the line between showing yourself in the best possible light and then just crossing over into obnoxious. Looking at that now, read that as obnoxious, and I can say that. I'll put my hands up and be like, yep, that is obnoxious. I was trained on a number of administrative systems and was involved in cooperation between various departments of a company. Not necessary unless I'm going to explain how that relates to working in a multidisciplinary team. I probably could have done without a lot of that. Now, as lead liaison Saltire ambassador, that's a lot of words as well. I mean, it's a bit of a flex, but it also doesn't relate to the rest of the paragraph. So in looking at that, if I was going to keep that in, I would have moved just that sentence down to the end of the paragraph. And I think that would have helped the flow of that paragraph. Okay, spending 2 summers as a French horn tutor and camp counsellor at a camp in New York allowed me to develop essential adaptation skills, teaching a variety of ages and skill levels. I also learned a lot about dealing with conflict between other individuals, as well as queries from concerned parents who were seeking assurance over their children's safety. Appointed as a symphony librarian, I organised and filed the sheet music for a huge orchestra during a side-by-side concert with the New York Pops. My love for the arts pertains through my position on my university orchestra committee as treasurer, as well as my fortnightly column reviewing arts performances for the Gaudi, the university's student-run newspaper. I find an expressive outlet to be very empowering. Okay, so I actually think there's so much I would change about this paragraph. First of all, I talked about teaching. That is good, because as we know, doctors have to be teachers. They're teaching patients about their health. They're teaching more junior doctors about being a better doctor. A lot of doctors also go into universities and give lectures on whatever specialty they are a doctor in. And so the teaching aspect is really important. So I'm glad I mentioned that. The conflict thing is fine. Huge orchestra during a side-by-side concert with the New York Pops. I would scrap some of that. It's just a waste of letters, and realistically, no one reading this knows who the New York Pops are. You know, it's a flex for the musicians in my life, not for a medical school application, particularly not when you're under such strict character counts. I find an expressive outlet to be very empowering. It's just bad. Empowering is not something they're looking for. It would have been better to mention how the arts stimulate other areas of my interests, or that could have been where I spoke about life balance, and it could have been I've got different interests. Yeah, anyway, we move. Okay. As a graduate applicant, I feel I have established the skills and attributes which allow a well-rounded life and one which can live up to the demands of a medical professional, as well as having a keen interest in patient health and care needs. It's not special, it's definitely not. It's nothing that's going to wow them at the end. I definitely wish I'd taken more care to end it on something amazing. But on the whole, it's not awful. It's not the worst thing I've ever read, and it does remind me that when COVID isn't a thing, I did once have a previous life as someone interesting with a whole and well-rounded life. No, I'm actually a bit nostalgic and I want to go back to those times. COVID, man. COVID. Thanks, Rona. Anyway, 2019. Got a bit cold, so I've just popped on my trusty Cardi. So, medicine is a vocation which I am wholly suited for. Having enjoyed pursuing a degree in neuroscience at the University of Aberdeen and spending a lot of my spare time caring for individuals in a time of vulnerability, I consider myself to have the qualities of self-determination and empathy which make an excellent doctor. My father's unexpected cardiac arrest earlier this year highlighted how medics work within teams comprised individuals who work cohesively to provide excellent care, communally plan treatment, and keep families informed. While this was a turbulent time emotionally, I also thought very pragmatically, using my knowledge from cardiovascular pharmacology classes to inform my family of how we, as his support network, could help him in his recovery. This was a huge affirmation that medicine is the career for me. Okay, I much prefer this to my 2018 first paragraph. First of all, the first couple sentences are really similar, but I've ditched the words that I think I actually mentioned when I was looking at my 2018 version weren't necessary, like I believe in the first sentence and about life balance or whatever it was that I had in my first paragraph. I've ditched them. I like how I've put the thing about my dad's cardiac arrest not as a first sentence, because I know that's the first thing people go to when it comes to personal statements, is that the first sentence is very often a story of their own. So either a family member in hospital, or an event that happened, or a light bulb moment that convinced them that they wanted to do medicine. I think that's actually quite bold to not have that as kind of main feature, and I've taken kind of the knowledge that I've learned in my degree and put that into practice. So I actually really like that first paragraph. However, how medics work in teams comprised individuals. That is actually shocking. Comprised of individuals. That's probably why I got rejected straight up. That's unbelievable. Oh, it's so embarrassing. Yeah, get someone to check your personal statement. When I was doing this personal statement in 2019, was applying for deferred entry, so the fact that I was applying for deferred entry might have made me a bit complacent. I obtained work experience shadowing in a paediatric neurology ward and within a psychiatry ward, where I witnessed how collaboration and mutual respect allowed efficient practice within multidisciplinary teams. I spent a year as a one-to-one support worker for service users with epilepsy, autism, Fragile X, and other life life-altering conditions, which I was trained in, as well as medication administration. This involved a large amount of personal care and highlighted to me that quality care requires person-centered thinking to maintain a trusting and healthy environment. I think this is fine, so yeah, happy with that. Throughout university, I volunteered weekly within Aberdeen Royal Infirmary, where I befriended the elderly patients in the acute stroke ward and saw the symptoms described in the lectures presented clinically. This insight was invaluable, and the challenges in communicating with aphasic patients or those with other neurological presentations was telling of other hurdles which medics may encounter and utilising resources like cue cards to overcome these. Yeah, I mean that's mostly similar to my 2018 one. However, I have put ARI in brackets and I'm assuming that means I use it again. But I don't think Aberdeen Royal Infirmary is really necessary. Like, I think I could have just put a hospital because they don't really care where it is that I was volunteering. And it is, Aberdeen's a big word. Like, Aberdeen Royal Infirmary is a lot of characters. I definitely think I could have watched that a little bit better. My 12-week research project within anatomy studying the visualization of the vasculature of the lower limb gave me an incredible opportunity to mix clinical research with anatomical study and dissection. I presented my thesis to the radiology department at ARI, and my work is being further used in a PhD project working on the use of AI in flap surgery. I guess that's where ARI comes in handy, but I don't think the last bit, and my work is being further used in a PhD project blah 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 blah, was really necessary. I'm not sure if I was just trying to show that my name might eventually end up in a published paper, but I guess that's what I was getting at. Otherwise, I don't think it's entirely necessary because that's not something that I'm doing, so in hindsight maybe I would ditch that. My summer under the accolade of a Saltire Scholar interning at Edwards Life Sciences Canada as a medical education intern allowed me to experience the medical technology sector. I organised events to train healthcare professionals to use the company's heart valves and critical care monitoring equipment, which required meticulous organisation and communication between different departments and the doctors. Edwards' credo is helping patients is our life's work, life is now, and I'm devoted to building a life which draws on my love for learning about the human body and help people. So I don't actually think that's grammatically correct. Draws on my love for learning about the human body and helping people, surely. Anyway, I think that is a big improvement from my 2018 version because I think I waffled. I think in this version I've been a lot more succinct about the work that I was doing and the relevant parts of the work I was doing. So there's a kind of a line there where you could be doing a lot of work, but the bits that they want to know about are quite specific, and I think I've tailored that down a lot better in this version. I've spent 3 summers as a French horn tutor and camp counsellor at a camp in New York, developing essential adaptation skills, playing a vast number of performances and teaching a large range of student skill levels, as well as monitoring a bunch of 12 teenagers. I took on an extra role as librarian, organising music for concerts with renowned conductors. My love for the arts pertained through my place as treasurer in my university symphony orchestra committee, as well as my fortnightly column reviewing local arts performances for the Gaudi, the university's student-run newspaper. I think that some of that wasn't necessary. For example, the renowned conductors, that probably wasn't necessary, and monitoring a bunch of 12 teenagers, yeah, okay, it's really rough, but I've not gone into any detail about why that responsibility was important, and I know that I am under a certain constraint when it comes to the character limit, but just don't include it if you're not going to go into detail. I think that is something that is hard to learn, hard to accept, because you want to be able to tell them everything and really show yourself off. But for my gap year, I've just started a job in workshop delivery, which will allow me both to travel and save money for my time as a medical student, as well as volunteering at a soup kitchen social bite. I've also begun preparations to travel to Tanzania for 3 months next year, volunteering with the International Citizen Service. As a graduate applicant, I've established the skills and attributes which allow a well-rounded life which can live up to the demands of a medical professional, further building on my experiences both within and out with university. So definitely if you're taking a gap year, you should say what you're intending on doing, but you know, I didn't actually get to do a lot of that. Some of it because of Corona, some of it because, well, I did volunteer at Social Bite. I didn't get to do that for long before, well, I was travelling a lot for work leading up to Corona stopping me and stopping all of it. One thing I feel like I could have done and would have given me a lot of extra points is explain how my job has taught me things that I will need to know about for being a doctor. So I wasn't working in anything relevant. So the workshops were mostly about business and technology theories and concepts and things like that for companies that use technology, so like banks mostly. I learned a lot. I think the thing that won them over in my interview at Glasgow was actually discussing the kind of flaws in practice, in business practice practice that we were seeing with a lot of the clients that I was working with, and why didn't I like jump on that? That's something really unique that not a lot of people would be able to talk about. Anyway, that's kind of it really. I don't have a lot else to say. Here's my medical school applications playlist. If you feel like hearing about my journey to medicine, click on the video up there. Thanks very much. I'll see you in the next one.